Hey everyone, today I want to share my 10 favourite Valheim builds. Hopefully these will give you inspiration or ideas for creations of your own. As well, every build shown does have a building guide which can be found on my channel if you want to build one of these yourself. The last building in the video is my main base, so stick around if you want to see which building I use in my own playthroughs. Starting off with my sundial portal hub design. I originally wanted to make a circular portal hub surrounding a large oak tree, but I also wanted something a little bit more structural and easy to follow if I was going to share it with everyone. I then thought about what themes might fit a portal hub area, and time came to mind. Portals are primarily something that help you save time, and after I made that connection, a sundial clock type build felt like a perfect idea. A few years have passed since I made this build and it's still one of my favourites. Next is my endgame storage shed building. This building was designed to be an improvement on my very first storage shed build. I wanted to try and improve it in every way possible. More storage space, nicer interior, a more detailed exterior, and just larger overall. The only regret about this build I have is I didn't build it in a spot in my world where I could easily access it. So it ended up remaining empty and unused, but I did love how it ended up looking. Next up is my Great Hall style build. For this build I wanted to really test the structural integrity limits of the wooden building pieces. The goal was to make the largest open space I possibly could, only using wood. The long core wood beams became my go-to for structural integrity, and as you can see the results were pretty good. The large area made a very nice looking grand feasting hall, but I do wish I spent more time designing a cleaner exterior. I felt it was a little bit cluttered and chunky. Next is my simple stone tower. When I was designing the tower I wanted to make something similar to the stereotypical guard tower in the strategy game, with a focus on being simple and effective and just having the right amount of detail to look nice but not too over the top. I like how the proportions ended up feeling just right for me, the chunky bottom looking like it was giving more stability and the slightly larger top as a guard area just hit right for me. If I was to remake this now, I would most likely use the newer spiral staircase block, instead of the core wood spiral staircase that I used before. Mostly to be more resource efficient and functional, as the core wood staircase required you to jump up the stairs instead of walk up them. Next is the large dock build. This build I wanted a large dock with multiple areas to dock boats. At the time I didn't really know how I wanted this build to look. During some conversations with friends though, one suggested a seawall. They then showed me some pictures of what seawall docks looked like, how they functioned, and I ended up loving the idea and started making it. During the build, a funny thing did happen. I got attacked by a greyling, and instead of defeating him like most sensible people, I put him in a small cage. This is Bob. Bob has been trapped here for 3 years now. Next is a more recent build, a house on top of a large stone foundation. When I was playing New World, I noticed a lot of houses that had a raised stone foundation, and I really started to want to build one. So I started experimenting with that style of building, and I ended up building quite a few of them in various games. This one is my favourite of all of the ones I've created so far. Unfortunately, I did destroy this building to use the space for other building videos, but I did keep a backup of the save to come visit whenever I want. Next is a tiny log cabin build. This build is one of my favourites simply because it's exactly my style. A cozy small cabin at the side of town where I just come back whenever I need to rest or store items. I still use this build for one of my characters. If I join a new server with him, I drop his equipment off here before going on a new adventure. Unfortunately, it is hard to use this building as a main base because of its tiny size. Next up is a trophy hall build. This is one of my favourites because it's both a trophy hall for boss trophies and a portal hub leading to each of the boss fight areas. This gives the building a little bit more utility than just being a nice looking building, which feeds into my preference of having functional buildings that look good instead of purely focusing on the aesthetics. I did want to turn this same building into an armory at one point, but I also didn't want to make 2 videos of the same building. Next up is probably one of the largest buildings I've made in Valheim, the fortress. I was asked a lot of times to build a castle or larger structure, but I always personally build very small in survival games, so this one was quite a challenge for me. How I overcame that challenge was to think of the build in smaller sections rather than just all one gigantic build. I thought of each corner inside the walls separately and came up with a function for each one. There was the main house, the smithy, the farm, and then the animal pen. I feel like it turned out really nicely, despite being a bit hesitant to build it at first. And lastly, as promised, my main base. The building that I have used in all of my own playthroughs and have built multiple times on servers with friends. On my channel, this is my starter house build. I never personally needed to upgrade to another base from this one. But that is because my usual way of playing survival games was to make one building and use that building from the start of the game till the end of the game. I have upgraded this base slightly with a stone wall, animal pens, and a farm, but this is largely how I first designed it. Even now, years later, whenever I want to play the game again, this is still the first building that I make. Well, that was it for my 10 favourite Valheim builds. I hope you enjoyed the video and found some inspiration from it, or at least found my thought process of how I made these builds interesting. This is the first time I've used my voice in a video as well, so tell me if this is a change you guys enjoyed. But, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.